I don't know what to say. Really. Only 3 minutes to the biggest midterms of the last 2 years. It all comes down to today. Now either we heal as a mug club or we crumble. We're in progressive hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stand around and get the shit kicked out of us, or we can claw our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. No, I can't do it for you. I'm too old. I mean, I look at all these young mug clubbers' faces, and I think I made every wrong choice a late 20s, early 30-year-olds guy could make. I pissed off all the social media giants. I pushed away every Hollywood agent who's ever represented me. And lately, I can't even stand watching the clip of Anna Kasparian telling me she's f***ing better than me. You know, when you come out as a conservative, things get taken from you. I mean, that's a part of life. But you only learn that part when people start calling you a Nazi. And you find out that life is a game of inches. And so's Mug Club. They're trying to shut us down before this election. The inches we need are everywhere around this Mug Club. Hell yeah. And this Mug Club, we fight for that inch. In this Mug Club, we tear ourselves to pieces, throw ourselves at super videos, we change minds, and we even make tranny jokes for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those Mug Club ballots and all those minds changed, that's gonna mean the f***ing difference between winning or losing. And either we vote now as one Mug Club, or we get banned. That's individual. That's Mug Club, guys. That's all it is. Now, what are you gonna do? Join Mug Club today and vote, or die as individuals.
That was my Bozo the Clown inflatable boxing bag when I was a kid. It used to kick the crap out of me. I had no idea. It took me about 4 times of boom, snap. What the hell just happened? Speaking of which, I was 14. It happened after I got my butt kicked in the male's locker room and gym locker room. Daniel Cormier is on the show today.
Boom! Speaking of butt kicking,
light heavyweight champion, probably his last fight coming up on Saturday.
Really?
And his manager is a fan. He's just a decent guy. We'll be talking a little bit more in general about fear, about life, about strength. You're probably a fan. I don't know. Yeah. That's actually, for those who don't know, in third chair, Nim the Great on Twitter, and it's just Eric Nimmer on Instagram. Right?
Yeah.
Comedian. He tours a lot with Owen. Very funny gentleman. What's the line of the day at G. Morgan Jr.?
We have a little Taylor Fladgate late bottle vintage port.
Taylor Fladgate. By the way, I had an old bottle of port that turned out it was good.
Great.
He was like
we tried it.
You praised it. Quarter black. Show Nimmer your hood pass.
Yeah. What's up? Follow me on Black Twitter.
I'm very uncomfortable.
Black Twitter.
I want to see some black on black violence erupt right now.
Right now. Well, go.
Nimmer, you have my full and complete authority.
We're having
and we're going to be talking about the election, by the way, everyone.
That's
talking about the election, the polls. So question of the day before we get to other stories. Right around the corner. What do you think about the polls? Do you trust the polls? Do you think the pollsters get it right? How valid are they, if at all? Are you expecting a blue wave? I think we're probably going. Why is that so? It's like it's going to be more of a pond ripple at this point. But what are you thinking with polls? I hear a lot of people going, well, the polls got it completely wrong before, so polls are completely invalid. I don't think that's necessarily the case. And I don't think that, they're the end-all, be-all. Don't let it manipulate your voting behavior, however. That's what's most important. And, of course, subscribe on iTunes, and let's get Instagram to verify me. Our top story today.
Good luck.
Kanye West, well, not really even today, but people are still talking about it because he won't go away. He announced on Twitter that he's distancing himself from politics. From BBC. My eyes are now wide open, and I now realize I've been used to spread messages I don't believe in. I'm completely focusing on the creative. Also, I'm Jesus. He really is.
I'm being crazy. This is what you mean.
This is like, I mean, I wish we'll run a clip at some point, probably in the audio-only version if you're not on iTunes, because that can't go out live. Remember when the Kanye thing happened? I think you might have been here, and I said, hold on a second. This is the guy, like, he's going to change back. Let's stop with the hero word. Like,
exactly. He was kind of crazy to begin with, a little bit, right? He's a little crazy.
Well, actually, we have exclusive of his new single, and I mean, if you listen closely, even according to if you look at where he is lyrically, he seems a little confused.
La, 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 wait till I get my opinions right. I had a dream I could get with Owens Candace. Said the sun revolved around the earth, sis. I was my God for about a second. Man, it's so hard not to change positions. Don't know what I think, I kinda guessed it. Hard to know the truth when you were just the bestest. Liberal, then MAGA, then again a liberal. George Bush. Still don't care about black people. Logic keep escaping me. Even as a baby mama couldn't get through to me. My sneakers pay less screwing me. I'm on Twitter begging you just to buy them, please. I'm just telling you the truth, man. I ain't completely literate. I don't know how to read, man. I was pro-Trump till I changed him. I guess I didn't get the acronym. La, 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 la. Wait till I get my opinions right. La, 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 la. Then you gonna buy my sneakers, right? Excuse me, did you buy my sneakers? Nuh-uh, you didn't buy my sneakers.
We just wanted half of you to walk out right away.
And mission accomplished.
Right away.
That didn't really take a long time for
that
that to come around because
confused.
He got somebody had to be in his ear like, just are you insane?
By the way, apparently a lot of people didn't realize. You know, you must know this, Eric, right? His sneakers tanked.
Yeah, the Yeezys.
See, everyone no. Now you're acting like you know.
Yeah, I knew.
You did not know before the show.
Yeah, Nims.
He wasn't here yet, and they were all like, "What are you talking about, sneakers?"
Yeah, no, the Yeezys. But
they were terrible.
I just want to be the one on the record saying that all of his opinions aren't wrong. Taylor Swift is terrible.
I agree with that.
She remade Earth, Wind, and Fire September, and I've never hated something so much.
I'll tell you what, Brodigan, who works with us, is a huge Taylor Swift fan, and he's the kind of face that black people see in their nightmares. Like, not long ago, he would have been the Hells Angels with the beard showing up like, we heard that you kissed a white girl.
That's so true.
It's so true. He's the sweetest guy. But if you were to see him and just put a leather three-piece rocker on him, you'd be like, oh my God.
We'll let him know how you feel about Taylor.
Oh, she's terrible. I
agree with that.
Coming after you.
I
love Brodigan, but
really? I don't think she's terrible. I love Brodigan. I think it's weird that he likes Pitch Perfect. In tech news, Google engineers are organizing a walkout over an alleged sexual harassment. This comes from BuzzFeed. The, quote, women's walk is to protest recent revelations about Google's protection of employees that had allegedly engaged in sexual misconduct. The walkout will occur, it seems like, this week, while the remaining engineers at Google are planning, quote, the best casual Friday ever. Yeah, they seem pretty happy about it.
I'd be happy with them.
I think that's a female on the poll.
No love lost. You're not even JavaScript.
They didn't all walk out.
Ladder is crap. We're going to get letters. But send us your comments about the polls. That's what really matters here, folks. Not the racist Asian jokes. They can take it. We were actually able to obtain an official copy of the women's walks. I think is the kind of group that's called complaints, including some of the alleged, of course, the comments and questions that were made at Google. So we've actually collected our favorites for this week's 7+1. You forgot Stefan in the chamber. Never forget the one in
Never.
the chamber, as
hard to-
everyone
yeah.
here well knows. 7+1 this week, top sexual assault comments from Google employees. We didn't know what to title it. Number 7, do you know the difference between software and hardware? DOS titties. Actually, the bullet makes that funnier. Let's have Nim the Great give us number 6. There you go.
You so fine, I never ban you for dead naming trannies.
Boom.
Oh, there you go.
I had to give-
It sounded so much nicer when he says it.
It did, yeah.
He really does sound like a
You need
dumb-
more of like a militant black voice for that.
Yeah,
You could-
exactly.
Maybe
You're
next
trying to
time.
get me
like
shot.
Kanye, pre-Trump. Maybe he'll go back to that.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know.
There you go.
It's kind of like Mike Tyson. He was like, well, first I want to I'm very glad for my sponsorship with Wheaties. I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Fast forward 2 years. I want to make orphans of his children. Praise be to Allah. Don't talk to me unless I fornicated with you, bitch.
It was a fast turnaround.
It was a very fast turnaround. One. Do you know what the common denominator was? Islam. Number 5, top 7 sexual assault comments at Google. Number 5, your Google ass looks great in my Google Glass. It is definitely not a thing. Remember, Google Glass was, it was going to be the next big
I thought that was
thing.
going to be like the thing, and I'm like, I don't.
Do you remember that? Do you remember the Google Glass?
No, I don't at all. Just, I
Okay.
mean,
But it
was
requires
that the thing that they want to flip down and have
Yes.
like your everything?
Yes.
on-
Yeah.
No, you're thinking of LeVar Burton in Star Trek, which is understandable.
That's actually what I thought of when they said it. I was like,
That was the most they
Yeah.
designed something that couldn't possibly. Imagine being on set with LeVar Burton.
Oh, yeah.
He must have had an assistant,
Yes.
just a seeing eye dog assistant, basically.
That would suck.
It's like, all right, am I on the spaceship? No, you're at craft services. Well,
Crap.
I don't have to take your word for it. That's all right. Number 4 for people who don't know Reading Rainbow. I don't care. We'll give Nim number 4.
hey, you want to go Star Wars prequel and chill?
That's
Wow.
I thought they hated the prequels.
That's so bad.
yeah.
Which ones are the good ones?
whole
No,
point.
number 3, Orange Man bad, software engineer penis good. Yeah, that seems it's a little bit on the nose, a little derivative.
little.
I love how engineer Abby is like. It's okay to laugh at this. Your mother already knows that you work on this show,
It's
Abby.
okay. You can laugh.
I'm taking number 2 because
Thank God.
I want. Number 2, sexual assault comments overheard at Google. This is actually the women's walk. It's because it was March. So now it's
Yeah.
women. They're not even original.
It's
with
a
their
walk.
names. Number
Really.
2, you should see the Yelp reviews on my cock. It's mostly 4 stars, but one girl was a bitch. By the way, I don't like that.
always that one review.
After we wrote this, I was like, it should be Google Place reviews or something. Or what they bought Zagat? Something under the Google umbrella.
Under the Google.
Rodigan, were you too busy watching Pitch Perfect 19?
Wait, what was the name of that?
Quite a fan.
What's the other one thing?
Zagat.
Wow, that's
Is that
That's
still
a
around?
very common thing. It's like it was before
Used to
Zagat
be.
was restaurant review, Meg.
Yeah.
really.
What kind of childhood? Well, there really are some cultural
Man, you
differences.
white people have strange things.
Well, I'm just saying that's ballsy in the internet area. Be like, hey, did you check the Zagats? Like, how'd the Zagat report on it? Like, ugh.
You can never trust the Zagat score. It's pretentious. Actually, we're gonna have G. Morgan Jr. read the number 1.
Oh, really?
Number 1 comment overheard at Google that spurred the women's walk.
I've got a Google map straight to your heart.
No, say number 1.
Oh.
Give it enthusiasm.
Fine.
He needs to give it enthusiasm,
Fine.
Nimmer.
All right, so I'm going to give
Yeah.
number 1.
Yeah.
I've got a Google map.
Split the difference.
Damn you. Number 1, I've got a Google map straight to your heart and
Yeah. By the way, I told you I was going to bleep that. We're not.
Oh,
We're
come
not. And by the way, the top Google sexual assault comments overheard the opposite led to the women's walk. The +1, did you fall out of heaven because I'm an autistic atheist who really wants to have sex with you? That's been this week's 7+1.
You forgot the fan in the chamber.
Oh, Google, when will they get it right?
Just, I'm really scared though that this could backfire for all the women. Like it's like they walk out and then it's like, oh wait, this is the greatest work experience. And like their stocks just skyrocket. So now you have an
activity.
office full of sexists now.
Turns
All
out
these
sex
inventions.
offenders are incredibly productive. Look at our bottom line. Look, profits up, bitching down.
Yeah, well, look, and they're actually pissed off about something that happened 4 years ago. So the guy who invented Android got a big buyout, and the claims were never even substantiated. He was supposedly he had sex with somebody in a hotel room, right, or got him to give him a right, but it was never proven
Gerald
at all.
is just
Whoa.
throwing all different
well,
kinds of
yeah,
heat today.
that's the word that
Wow.
gives you case, right?
Once and he just loses
Look,
his
no,
mind.
don't repeat it.
Wow.
Because you're outing me here.
Censor
right?
button, censor
Yeah,
button.
definitely
Okay,
censor
what are you
button.
talking about?
That they're pissed off over that. It happened in 2014.
Okay.
The buyout that he
By the
got
way,
$90 million.
Back off from the mic a little bit. You're giving everyone a heart attack because it's like this is the thing with Gerald. Before the show, he's like he tests it, and then he starts getting in. You're like, what the hell are you doing?
It's too excited.
It's like when he gets around a black guy. Lottie, lottie, lottie.
I haven't used black voice once.
No, he hasn't done it with you because
Not
we
once.
read him the riot act. With the Hodge twins, he did not.
Oh, he did it with me the first time. It's just like, no, I actually told him right before the show. I was like, I'm proud of you for yesterday. You went the whole episode. You didn't do it because I was waiting for you.
Yeah.
But it comes from a
call me
place
out
of
on
love.
it.
Yeah, but there's more than just the Android thing now. This isn't just about the Android guy. So you just need
There
to
was
explain.
3 total guys, but he was the one. They were
Right.
pissed off because he got a buyout.
Yeah.
So anyway, whatever.
Also because he raped them. Finally,
No, that never happened.
before we get to polls, before we get to the election, the final story of the day, a St. Louis daycare has now been running a Fight Club ring, which was caught on camera. It's not exactly UFC 230, which Daniel Cormier will talk about next, but watch the clip.
A disturbing sight. A class of
I
preschoolers
love how we have
watching
narration.
as 2 kids rain punches on each other. It's being called a fight club for kids.
Epic. Boom.
By the way, if you continue watching that, like that mom there is she's like an inch away from yelling out world star hip hop. You see her, she's jumping, she's like, oh damn, like it's 2:00 in the morning at a Whataburger.
Wait, are we offended by this?
That's black.
Like, I don't, because I got at least 60 on the kid in blue. Like, he kept his elbow in, and I think
I'll
he
throw
got
some
him.
on there.
I think, yeah, I got you. Yeah, let's do it.
Well, here's the deal. Like, this has become viral because too many people have the problem with the obvious, kids beating each other up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, having watched the video, I'm actually I'm more concerned with some of the mental health of the children in question.
You don't know where I've been, Loophole! You don't know where I've been! You don't know where I've been! Where's my juice box, Lou? Where's my juice box, Lou? Where's the juice box, Lou?
Juice box are fighting.
wow.
Gerald is incredibly confused because I don't think Gerald's ever seen Fight Club.
I love Fight Club. Are you kidding me?
Oh, he was just disturbed.
I was very disturbed.
He was watching it like this.
Clip. Why would he do that?
Oh, right. Anyone have anything else they
I
want to
should be
move on here, or is this is all going to to be rested on me today? Okay, good. I guess I'm glad I took some caffeine
listen
pills.
to this. Fall on the
Gerald
sword.
writes, Android guy was upset. They were upset because of buyout. And then like you're like, okay, Joe, that's a good idea. And it's like that's all. That's all they're mad about the Android guy.
That's all they're mad about.
All right. That's why it's not louder with G. Morgan Jr. There was. Or Nimmer. Don't be the toady and laugh at him for me.
There you go.
What? No, that's great.
None of you.
I
Band
was
of brothers. No, I'm kidding.
I was
Although did you see the fan that he had the Minnie Mouse at U of M? Yeah, she was like, I'm Gerald's
Oh, yeah.
fangirl.
I never knew that.
Oh, excited.
Yeah, that's because you don't. See, that was actually a test. It did happen, but it tells me that G. Morgan Jr. doesn't watch the show, which is why he's incredibly ill prepared. It was on yesterday's show. For those who are Mug Club members, please tweet him that he does not watch the show. Okay, so let's look at the election. I think beforehand, I'm not really a political guy. I think actually you probably are more than I am. I know Ben Shapiro, Brodigan is brilliant with this stuff. So what are the odds saying right now? For Republicans to keep control of the Senate, it's about a 6 in 7 chance. And then there's a 1 in 7 chance that Republicans keep control of the House. Okay? So very likely that Democrats take control of that. This is it's kind of a flip. That being said, I think Democrats are going to be surprised. I don't know if anyone else has any opinions on this or if I'm going to be resting here by myself.
I hope so.
Jerk. I definitely have opinions on this. I think because of the Kavanaugh thing that we're probably going to see a lot more people that are Republicans do better or win, but I'm worried that it happened so long ago in political time, right? For some reason, we forget stuff after about a week.
Yeah.
And so we need something usually has to happen within the last week of the election to get people out to the polls.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know if that carryover is going to happen.
Putting a get her done flag on a bomb outside of an envelope doesn't do it. Is that not a needle mover?
Maybe something else, you know?
I think they're probably going to win the House. I do think they're probably, but by a very, very slim margin. I think the blue wave, if you're expecting a giant blue wave, I think they'll be surprised. That's entirely conjecture. Eric, what's your
They'll be like bipartisan movements and working, and Congress will become effective after.
All right.
Right? Like,
That is not how
It's far easier to be a cynic than to tell us how you really feel.
Exactly.
It's just like, this lunch sucks, rather than tell everyone in a school cafeteria that you're hurting inside.
Sorry, I didn't go to the Zagat's before I
Nimmer
ate
is.
lunch.
No, Zagat is a grading system.
Right.
He really doesn't
He
know
doesn't
about
realize it's not a restaurant.
It's like it was Yelp before Yelp was a thing.
I just feel like it's a slur that you guys got away with.
No, it's
No,
it is a biracial gay.
Oh,
A zebra Zagat.
there you go.
No, it's a real thing.
So wait, I would be.
And by the way, also Zagat's have to be incredibly unfunny, apparently. Oh, seriously, have you ever seen Trevor Noah be funny? Accidentally?
There was his first special wasn't horrible.
Okay, yeah.
As soon as he got money, it just sucked.
Destroyed him.
I think all the political stuff he does sucks.
I just think he's not funny. I thought Jon Stewart was brilliant and very funny.
Yeah.
I
I disagree with most of what he said, but I
also don't find Chris Rock funny. I think Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, I just don't find Chris. I feel like I'm told to like Chris Rock.
No, yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know.
No.
Here's the deal: is how accurate are these predictions going into the midterms? Okay, polls are sketchy, and some people trust them as reliable, and some people completely throw them out, like we talked about earlier. It's not fair to say that polls are always wrong. Neither of those positions are correct. But, and I think this is very important because the left wants you to do this, you certainly shouldn't base your voting habits on polls. You shouldn't allow, we'll talk about mental strength, mental fortitude with Daniel Cormier, who had to overcome some serious adversity in his life. They do sort of, it's the World War II propaganda. You know, you have already lost the war. The Judens are all dead. Give up hope. They did that. They should do it in Saving Private Ryan. Yeah. That's what the left is trying to do, and I think they try to do it with Trump. And all of a sudden, the national polls closed quite a bit with Trump nationally. Right before he won, they gave him a 99% chance that Hillary Clinton would win. The national election. You were with me that night. Remember?
I know, that's what
Our entire election stream was just tuning into the Young Turks and watching the New York Times odds numbers.
It was great. It was one of the best nights ever. So I have a legitimate question for you. Why do we even have polls in the first place? I mean, let me frame the question a little bit. Polls affect how you vote, like you just said. If you're in a place like where you're voting for somebody who's going to win, running away, then you're probably not going to go vote, or maybe you're on the fence and you're not going to go out, right? Yeah. And so if the poll says they're going to run away, you're going to stay home. So I don't know that I even like polls before the election anyway.
I disagree.
I don't know what their purpose is.
Their purpose is for people, obviously. There should be polls for people who are running for office. I understand
but that's internal polling they do all the time.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't care, because if someone is that easily influenced, then they're an idiot who's probably not going to vote.
I know, but that's the majority of the electorate, unfortunately.
No, it's not. That's the thing.
Now.
And that's actually why polls are inaccurate.
I'm not
The truth is that's why polls are inaccurate very often, is that they don't necessarily, there isn't a good mechanism. There aren't effective metrics in place to measure voter enthusiasm.
Right.
So, I mean, we'll talk. I think we have a source later from Vox. The young people lean overwhelmingly left. They don't vote. It's the same thing with black people, except for Obama. It's the same thing. It's why they weren't able to measure Donald Trump. They don't measure certain. They don't have a metric to sort of test enthusiastic voting bases who really are. A quiet majority sometimes. So that is why they get it wrong. And I think that's important. And I do think that they try to manipulate that by putting out these polls, this doomsday scenario, because they actually want to manipulate public opinion. But I want them to try, because... And it's even sweeter.
I'm not actually mad at black people not voting this time around. Like at first I used to be like, what? We should get out there. And then I was on Twitter. Yeah. I was like, wait, so if you come out as a Republican, CNN calls you a coon.
Yes.
You come out as a Democrat, they say you're on a plantation. Either way,
wait, CNN says you're on a plantation?
I don't know what CNN. No, I mean, but like Twitter, like they'll be like, oh, you're just a slave on the plantation.
You're talking about like two people who say that stuff.
No, that's the argument. Candace Owens says that.
Yeah.
She says if you vote Democrat, you're just on the plantation. I was like, wait, so I'm a coon?
Candace Owens says that. The difference is the Democratic Party tells you that you're a traitor and not black enough if you are a Republican.
That's true.
The Republican Party doesn't say you're on the plantation.
Well, yeah,
one person does. No, the Democratic Party actually, they've always said not black enough. They might be not. Apparently, Hillary Clinton's more black than Nimmer because she says hot sauce before they stab her with a diazepam. Let's go through just a few polling debacles that come to mind. There are three, but two we'll just kind of set them up as a clock. Brexit, they were way off.
Well, unless they just override the people's vote, which they're trying to do right now.
Yeah,
so
which
they
is what they do.
Right, in retrospect.
Our early polling numbers seem to have been incorrect. Well, let's screw them against the wall, shall we?
That's exactly
Bernie Sanders, as much as I don't like him, I think he's crazy. I'm not talking about winning the primary against Hillary Clinton because she had more money than God. Sometimes I'm pretty sure that God calls up Clinton's like, ring, ring. I don't like making this call. But I have a Tesla to pay for.
She's paying for it too, man. She was absolutely going to be the president, and then Barack Obama, and then absolutely going to be the president, then Donald Trump.
She didn't win the primary and national polls, but if they were very, very inaccurate with Bernie Sanders in a lot of states. For example, Michigan, where Jean-Guy went, you saw Journey for Bernie. They had, I think Clinton had a 99% chance of winning. It's 90-something% chance of winning Michigan, and Bernie won handily. So they got that completely wrong. And Bernie was like, yes, score one for old curmudgeon-y Jews.
Socialist socialists.
I thought our time had passed.
He really is blooming.
Thank God for Cortez, Nina Pinta Santa Maria. I love that filthy bitch.
By the way, hit the notification bell or join Mug Club. If you're watching this, you're saying you want more of it, LauderdCredit.com/Mug Club. You get a 7-day free trial.
Man.
We can't continue this show without you joining Mug Club, of course, on YouTube because of the overlords. And we're not sponsored by Farmer's Dog, even though Hopper eats it. No idea why. No idea why. And then, of course, the number one polling, this is the obvious, Trump's election.
Yeah.
Almost all of the polls got this completely wrong. And I will say this, I thought that he was going to lose. Remember, before this, I said the election, I said, listen, don't ask me, because if someone like Thomas Sowell, of Charles Krauthammer, rest in peace at that point, and even Dick Morris, I mean, between,
that's the guy
foot massages, got it wrong. I'm not the guy who's going to get elections right. So I'll offer you my opinion on what I think regarding certain candidates. When it came to the election, I said, I think it's probably a 60-40 chance Hillary wins.
Yeah.
I didn't say 99% like the New York Times, but I did put more trust in the polls, and I learned a lesson.
Yeah, so when we were doing that show, I was actually preparing myself to talk about Hillary Clinton in some kind of light as the winner. Like, I knew she was going to win.
You're like the person who prepared an Oscars acceptance speech, and you're like, what? Meryl Streep won? How did that happen?
Exactly.
Grace!
And then I love that.
Go ahead.
It's my favorite scene. And then we're over there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. I can't believe this. And the best part, and I'm sorry, I know this makes me a bad person to some degree, is when they showed people at her campaign celebration headquarters, whatever, crying. Like, yes! I'm so sorry, but this has sucked for the last 8 years.
No apologies. No apologies.
By the way, you're
I
eating
feel
the mic
sorry,
a little bit there, quarter black guard. But yes, not only that, he came in really close. I was like, what the hell happened?
We'll
He's like
find
LeVar
it.
Burton. He's got the visor on. Where's my microphone?
Oh, got it.
As he says, no apologies.
No apologies.
No, I meant it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
He
Still no
whispers
apologies.
no apologies. You're not that bold. The worst part about Hillary Clinton, too, back then, when we're talking about strength and strength of character, we've been talking about that quite a bit, trotted someone else out for the concession speech, remember?
Yes.
Didn't even show up.
She's like, how did this happen again?
I know. Well, she was passed out, but she was like, just take the diazepam pedals, like 310 Nimmers, like. She was just backstage in a cot. I think she's that crazy. So here it comes down to why were all the polls wrong, and then we'll get into what they're doing with these polls now, because the blue wave isn't going to be as big of a blue wave as they thought. I hate that I have to get. I hate micro. This is actually that we were thinking of doing a live election stream. We might. Let me know if you want us to do it. Ooh. It's just going to be so boring. Like, national elections are interesting because of the cultural ramifications, but like Ted Cruz is going to absolutely just murk Beto O'Rourke.
I really hope
it's not even going to be close. So outside of that, there isn't really a whole lot that interests me. How did they get it wrong? Again, they're right about general opinions. These polls. It's hard to predict who actually votes on election
day. The likely voters thing.
Romney, actually, I think they had him winning, or it was really close up until election day. But fewer people, the cavalry didn't come over the hill for Romney, less so than even McCain, if you can believe it.
Well, it's because Romney shut it down in the second debate after he killed Obama in the first one.
He didn't
energize his base after that.
No. He didn't. He was the only one who went after Obama in the first debate.
Destroyed him in the first.
Then he just stepped back because he wanted to play a nice guy. And then people like Bernie or Trump who can energize a voting base, like we said, who typically wouldn't vote. And that's true. I don't know if it culturally, as a black person, do you have most of your family members and friends voted?
Yeah. My mother. Well, most black women. Black women don't get it. It's kind of like going to church. Like, they'll be the ones who be like, you better do it. And everybody else is like, I got things to do. Games to play and stuff.
Got things
so
basketball or something.
So it's kind of emblematic. It's like the women are like, hey, let's do this as the right thing. And then when it comes time to actually do it, the black men aren't there.
Wow. What the?
Oh, come on. It's not as bad as your voice.
I was just about to be proud of you for using the word merc. I was like, oh, he used it. Like, it's like you have black friends. I was proud of you.
That's a gaming term, I thought. It came from gaming merc. I have no. Is that a black term?
Yes, it's a black term.
Can you tell
Why?
me what
How
it
so?
means?
To murk somebody, like to murder out something, like
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you got
That is a
murked.
gaming term.
No, it's a hip hop thing.
No, we stole it. We appropriated it. Sorry.
Oh, well,
all right.
yeah.
So this is what I was talking about. Like, for example, except black people often don't vote. They came out and they voted quite a bit for Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Young people typically lean very left. It's a lock. Generation Z, like I've talked about, you can search it on this channel. Not so much. They're still more liberal, but you can count on them getting very conservative as they get older because they're more conservative at this point in their life than even Gen Xers or certainly millennials. But they just don't vote. We have a source, I think, here from Vox. So the question is, how do you get them to turn out young people specifically, right? This is what happens from the left. They're remember that?
Every time,
remember, actually, it was P. Diddy. Was he P. Diddy? Was he Puff Daddy at that point?
I don't know if he
was Diddy.
Is he Diddy?
He was
Is
Diddy.
Is he Diddy now?
He's Brother Love now.
Really?
Oh, that's
No,
right. He
that's-
did.
No, I swear.
Yes, he did.
Are you screwing with me?
No, I'm
no.
serious. His brother loved
When
me.
did this happen?
Like a year ago.
No, yeah, it's about a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that from the Nutty Professor? That's
Brother
Buddy Love.
That's
Buddy
buddy
Love.
love.
Buddy
Yeah.
love, but thanks for playing.
You know what though?
tried.
He is.
kidding.
It's. I bet you he probably sat. He was watching the Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy. He's like, man,
There you go.
I wish I had a name like Buddy Love.
I actually know it.
I know, Brother Love. They never know.
Did you see the story that made him do it? Like
Did he shoot someone in a nightclub?
it's worse actually. He went to his kid plays football for UCLA, and the coach was yelling at his kid too much, so he took a cowbell and smacked the coach inside the head.
Really?
And he was getting charges, and all these things came out, and he was like, "Call me Brother Love. I'm actually peace, love, and happiness."
Oh, is that really kind of like Meta World Peace? Where he
Yeah.
wants to punch out fans.
He just
Yeah.
wanted some more cowbell.
Yeah, I don't think he was that clever. I think he's just like, I'm just gonna grab any bill I possibly can and hit him, and then change my name.
That's a great skit.
Look, I changed it on my license. See, can't get me. They're like, no, we still can.
I don't think that's
Shoo.
how it works.
So they're trying to get the youth vote. P. Diddy did the Rock the Vote campaign, and
Yeah.
Cameron Diaz. I remember back then it was, I think it was George Bush versus John Kerry, and Cameron Diaz was on Oprah, and she said, if you don't vote, guys, it's like saying you want rape to be legal. And even Oprah was like,
It's a little far.
I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm going to start my own network. It's going to fail, then hire Tyler Perry. Enter beta or work. They're pulling out every single stop in the book right now to try and get young people to vote. Here's just like there's like literally putting him on a skateboard, kids.
I wish he would fall off right there. Bam.
I'm going to kickflip my way into office. But you don't have to take my word for it. Where's the mic? Oh, I don't know. Here's one that's really, really shameful. Beto's. Have you seen this? Again, they're trying to make it really cool. The YMCA dance.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Kill me.
This is the thing. Like that's like Hillary Clinton with
Kill
hot
me.
sauce.
Like for
The pandering doesn't even work. Like, what do kids like? I know. A washed-up gay cover band in the Village People. That's what they like.
They don't listen to.
Hey, I don't know. Should it be something like Drake or something? No, I'm pretty sure we're gonna go with the Village People. Hey, what's the deal with that gay S&M Folsom Street Village person? That one doesn't really make sense. That's for us more so.
That's for after party.
There was not even one person accidentally on beat in that clip. Like how? Like that's the most mayonnaise video I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, really? No,
Hey,
really?
hey,
You
hey,
think so? Is that what you think so? All right, hold your tongue, sir, because let's go to next clip.
Hey, Jamie, is that Beth's front yard? Uh-huh. Oh, it must be great volunteering
Is this
at
real?
a phone
Kill
bank.
It's not parody.
Is he ahead of Ted
Right.
Cruz yet?
Once you go better, you're never going back.
Can we get them internships at Google?
Like, kill me.
Is that not worse than the earlier clip?
Yeah, that's.
Oh my
I was
Wait.
so glad that you said
That is so terrible.
Wait, that's not real.
that's real.
That
No,
can't be
we
real.
researched.
You are
that.
just out of touch with the youth. Don't be fooled because black don't crack. This
my
man he's not young enough to
Wait.
know what the kids are into. They're into this.
Wait, that was.
And Pitch
That's
Perfect.
not real.
That is absolutely
Ted
real.
Cruz bought that. That was brilliant on his part, but Ted Cruz is
my gosh.
hiring all of
He
his
has just like the
campaigners.
best sentence. He's like, all right, now it's very important. It's very important that she misses the high note. And I want this to appear to, I want it to take place in a subdivision with no trees. So it's very clear that they had no budget. Not ironically, but truthfully.
And all white people.
I really think I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I think Ted Cruz's campaign has been texting my phone under Beto's name and doing and shooting all of these all of this is because nobody would do that to themselves.
Well,
They think it's
would.
going to work because here, look, elections unfortunately have become a beauty contest in the United States, right? Instead of looking at the skills that somebody has or their abilities.
Come on, you're so.
No, I'm pissed off at
What
that.
beauty contest is Donald Trump winning? He's judging them through a one-way mirror.
That's not a
Two-way
hair,
mirror.
though.
I think
That
that's a
hair's
porn
beautiful.
club, okay?
No, that was Miss America, Miss America,
mirror
Miss
is a
USA
little
before.
different story
You really
there.
think elections are? I don't think they're a beauty
No,
contest.
listen, I think they are beauty. And let me just say it this way. Donald Trump rallied a base of people that was mad. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, Donald Trump stood no chance. You had to rile up an entire base of people first for that to happen. Barack Obama did the exact same thing. Basically went out and said what everybody wanted to hear. I'm going to heal the nation. I'm going to take us in the right direction. Didn't have the ability to do any of it and screwed it up. We are not looking for the best qualified candidate. We're looking for somebody that makes us feel good, and that sucks because politicians will always make you feel good. They're always going to say
It's
what
like
you
their
want
job.
to hear.
I think that's true to a
job.
large degree, but not entirely.
Wait, you don't feel better after the village people in Greece?
No,
agree.
No, here's why.
Greece
Here's
and the
why. You
village
know what?
people.
I'm going to make a prediction right now. Steven, you're right. Beto's going to lose. And right after that, they're going to try to get him to run for 2020. Not only is he going to lose this race and suck at it royally.
And I can guarantee you won't win in 2020. You know why?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to interview him as a tranny, just like Wendy Davis. Political career.
Yes, you have to. But that's exactly what they're going to do. They're like, this guy's got it. We watched your video in the suburb. It was great.
By the
loved
way,
it.
for people who haven't seen the Women's March video where Stephanie interviewed Wendy Davis, I never expected that to happen.
Oh, it was awesome.
Like, can we just go ask Wendy Davis to
Fantastic.
give an interview? And then they were like, yeah, you know, I'm like, really? And then my wig blows off with the wind.
Mid-interview.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. She's like, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. Like, oh my gosh, you're never gonna make it in office again. This is
I'm glad she
wonderful.
went away.
And by the way, I'm very familiar with the pandering, not just for the youth vote, but as we know from my. Here's the thing. I hate to just bash Canada. I wish I were more proud of Canada than I am. But you want to talk about pandering? It's a niche vote, but it's an important vote. The Indian vote. Let's look at the Prime Minister of my former home country. It's like, I mean, you thought a white guy trying to do a black dance is embarrassing. He somehow made it even whiter to do the Indian dance.
Oh,
Man.
God.
The bar's pretty low, though. Come on.
Watching that made me want to put on a diaper and go on a starvation diet. Like that, we got to get white people out of Indian culture again.
Wait, you don't need a diaper if you're on a starvation diet.
Tell that to Gandhi.
I don't think Gandhi thought ahead. Really, I just
not a lot of
think
thinking,
Gandhi had a lot of followers that were it was unwarranted. That's what I think.
Yeah, he would have worn a vest if he would have thought ahead.
I think all right. So here's the point. We have to get to Daniel Cormier. Polls are often wrong. Okay, and more importantly, they're not the end all. They're not the be all. Polls. They're seeing this big blue wave. That's what the media. Here's the thing. It could be true, but it's certainly what the media wants you to think. They could have believed beforehand that Donald Trump was going to win. Was going to lose, what was it, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania.
All of them.
I actually said, I think he wins Pennsylvania and Ohio. I remember, and I was like, I think there's no way he wins Michigan. And that's
really?
Because in Michigan, I knew too many people in Michigan, but the truth is he appealed to a lot of the union voters who probably might want to support Trump this next go around.
Yeah.
So I said, no Michigan, but I think he wins Pennsylvania and Ohio. If you go back and look at it, they said, there's no way he wins Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania. They said he doesn't win anything in the Midwest, and he won all of it. So they could have actually thought that, but we know for certain that it is what they wanted. And it's what they wanted you to believe. And it's what they wanted everyone in Michigan to believe and in Pennsylvania to believe. And right now, they may believe that there's this big blue wave coming, or they may not. What we do know is that they want you to believe it to stay home and not vote. And that's why you see the desperate pandering for votes. And by the way, here's one thing too, a very unpopular position that I hold. Tweet me if you disagree. I really don't care. I hate get out to vote campaigns. I hate them. I can't stand them. If Kanye West is at home and someone makes it through the gates and says, excuse me, sir, have you thought about voting this election? Now you see I'm Jesus. Like, well, have you looked at the issues? I'm going to vote now because you rang my doorbell. If that's the straw, I don't want you voting.
Stay home.
I don't want people who are uninformed to vote. I don't understand. There's nothing virtuous in voting. Voting is not the end all be all itself. It's a means to an end. And the left just wants any person they can load up onto a bus and give a free sandwich to vote. I don't want you voting. People who do not understand the Constitution, you probably shouldn't vote. People who do not, it'd be like playing fantasy football and you have no idea. Be like me playing fantasy football. I don't play it because I know I'd lose. Sure, I might roll the dice and get it right, but that's not how you're supposed to play it with a constitutional republic, regardless of what Don Lemon, Anderson Cooper, Kanye West, or Drake, the butter-soft bitch from Toronto, who I don't even think can legally vote, but tries to act like he's from Memphis, tells you. If you don't keep yourself abreast of all the issues, if you're not informed, stay home, don't vote. I don't want you determining the fate of our country. We have Daniel Cormier coming up next. Hopefully he does. He was late. He missed last time. I have a bone to pick with him.
Now, I'm sure a lot of you feel out of place. Like Jamie Foxx, third string quarterback, 5'6", or Dennis Quaid, who at the time of filming is literally 55 years f***ing old. you're weak. But you're not weak when you join together with other members of Mud Club, some of whom have great big asses. Largely irrelevant. Join Mud Club today and vote. Or die as individuals.
It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Come cheer up my nights, come cheer up my nights. It's better to have loved and lost.
All right, gotta be Too Cute Maddie is standing in the corner there. She walks in the middle. Just go to your post, Too Cute Maddie. Our next guest, I'm really happy to have. Who's that there on your TV? DC. It's still a horrible nickname, I maintain, but you can follow him, of course, at DC_MMA. He is fighting against Derek Lewis, whose nickname I'm not allowed to say. As a what?
No, you're not.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Do you think that's just a guy? Okay, well, for Daniel Cormier, for people who don't know, thanks for being back, sir.
Thank you for having me again, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, especially after you stiffed us the last time. If you were not the baddest man on the planet, I would be upset.
You could be upset, but instead of Crowder confronts, it would be Cormier confronts Crowder.
Yeah.
Pleasant.
It'd be more like Cormier beats Crowder's ass as he curls up into fetal position. No, mine is ideologically confronting, and yours is, you beat people up. But you're a sharp guy, so maybe you can answer this. Derek Lewis, well, he calls himself the Black Beast. Is that just a gag on white people so that if we say it like in the wrong restaurant, we get our asses kicked?
See, it's like if Derek Lewis walked in and you guys are going, the Black Beast, the Black Beast, the Black Beast, it just kind of gives him an out to just start beating people's ass. It's like Derek wants to reserve the right to just beat people up, and so he gave himself that nickname. But it is a nickname where it's almost like, should I say it? Should I not say it?
Yes.
It's one of those deals,
Yeah, and if you're Papa John, you just scream out the N-word on a conference call. You're like, I don't know what happened there. Why would you do that, Papa John? Actually, by the way, for that, he was quoting someone else who said it, and still he's no longer Papa John. So we've got
no more Papa John.
No more.
Can't do it. Just can't do it.
You don't eat Papa Johns anymore?
I never really was a big fan of it. The dough's a little bit too thick.
Okay.
And if there's a food that I don't like, you've got some problems.
You're more of a New York style pizza guy, not a deep dish.
Yes, I like it a little thinner.
Do you not? Your nickname is DC, like we said, which is really just an initial. Are you upset at all that you didn't take the Black Beast beforehand?
Sometimes guys just aren't creative. I'm not the most creative guy. I'm gonna go ahead and stick my headphones in, Steve, just so I can hear you a little bit better.
Well, I can't tell you any differently because you're you.
There we go. Now I can really hear you.
Okay. Good.
I wish I would have did a better job of picking my nickname, but here's the deal. I went to school at Oklahoma State, and at Oklahoma State, they don't do the best job of choosing nicknames. They're not very creative.
Right.
So they're the ones that started calling me DC first, and then it just kind of stuck. I had never been called DC until I was in Oklahoma because Coach Smith started saying it all the time, and then everybody else just kind of picked up on it.
Yeah. And this is, by the way, an opponent I want to say for people, and we'll get into more kind of macro issues as well. Everyone, here's one thing. Everyone else on the planet would be terrified to fight Derek Lewis, right? Mm-hmm. You're strongly favored. You're expected to beat him. Yes. And I know you've talked about before how being an underdog really drives you. For example, going back in with John Jones, that was just a legendary rivalry. Does it ever worry you a little bit that people are kind of expecting this to be just a walkthrough for you?
I think it's on me to make sure that I prepare myself to the best of my ability.
Right.
I can't let the odds dictate how I approach the fight. I've been a favorite before. I was minus 1,100 versus Patrick Cummins. I was minus 900 against Dan Henderson, who's one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time.
Right.
And I was still able to implement my game plan and fight him in the way that I wanted to.
Well, hold on a second. For people who didn't see those fights, you ragdolled both of them. It wasn't even close. That's why I wonder if you're like, oh man, sooner or later, I'm rolling. Time's up because you did Dan Henderson. No disrespect to any of them. It wasn't even close. You know it. I know it. So there's that little bit of, as a victor where you're a little worried, like, oh man, I don't want to get overconfident.
At some point, you worry that, is it going to be me at some point with a guy throwing me around like that?
Yes.
I will never say I ragdolled him. I leave that for you to say.
You ragdolled him. So, you literally picked up, and I love Dan Henderson. For those who don't know, he picked him up, watched that, and he went, and it looked like an Acme cartoon where it was just like one of those tumbleweeds. And people, it was very, very effective.
It was bad. It was one of my better performances. But my whole deal is this, right? Dan Henderson's not a guy you truly want to mess with. I mess with him in the confines of the octagon.
Right.
I would prefer him to approach you just in random environment instead of me. So I'm not going to sit here and say Dan's an avid hunter. He knows how to shoot a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
This guy is a true bad man. So
he has no teeth.
Dan, hey Dan, I love you, bud.
Yeah, I know. Listen, like I said,
Steven's the one over here talking crazy.
No, I'm not. I would love to have Dan Henderson on the show. I would love to have Dan Henderson on the show.
You like both of you.
I remember back in the day when he was in Pride, I was like, man, I would love to see those super fights. And everyone was talking about Vanderlei Chuck. I was like, no, I really want to see Dan Henderson come over.
He was the man, Steve.
At that point, Rich Franklin,
man.
remember? And I was like, I think Dan Henderson really, and I like Rich Franklin.
Dan was the man.
He was, he was the
man.
You ragdolled him. Okay, so someone who obviously everyone else would be afraid of. Did you do anything, speaking of which, spooky for Halloween? What did you do for Halloween?
I have my kids and my wife here, so we went to one of my friends has a nice apartment in town where he had 600 apartments, but they listed all the ones that were giving out trick-or-treats. And we went to these doors up and down floors. My kids wanted to hit every one, which was absolutely impossible. So we went to a few, and then we went to the gym, and the guy that was working the gym was kind of like, oh my God, DC. So then he just stuck his hand in the candy bin, grabbed as much candy as he can grab, and just threw it in my kid's bag. And I was like, okay, guys, Halloween's over now. That's plenty of candy.
So
what are we going to do with all that?
What I really learned from that story is that the person at the front desk of the gym was gay.
Oh, no.
Oh, DC.
No.
Treat me like Dan Henderson. That's what I learned from that. You might not even realize it. You know what? It's like actually my friend Gerald who's in here. He doesn't realize when he talks with black people, he does a black guy voice. Have you ever encountered those people where he's like,
yes,
oh man, don't even mention it, bro. You're like, what the hell are you doing? You're from Schenectady. So yeah, okay, gay gym runner. Okay, so we're talking.
He wasn't gay. Stop that, man. Stop.
Let me ask you this: any plan? I believe in a closed ballot box. Are you planning on voting coming up these elections? Just say yes.
I honestly, there's some elections coming up like very, very soon.
Right.
But I've been so busy worrying about the fight that I haven't really paid attention to much. So
okay. So that's actually
my wife
good,
is all about it.
My
wife is all about it.
That's good to not say. There's a lot of people like, man, I haven't been paying attention. I'm going to be first in line to vote. It's like, okay, you know what? Hold back a little bit. I did have this question because obviously, Khabib recently had his scuffles, to put it that way. And, you worked with a company, the UFC. Dana White, came out publicly endorsed President Trump, and Khabib obviously not a big fan. You've managed to really stay out of the fray as someone who's on TV constantly as a commentator. Are you ever put in the middle of that at all, or is it just something you just carte blanche don't?
I don't touch it. I just don't touch it because the reality is there is no winning, right? There really is no winning. Either you're here or you're there, and I just would rather not be involved because then it doesn't isolate me from here or it doesn't isolate me from here, and so I just kind of stay away from it. Like I really don't like. My views and my thoughts are my views and my thoughts, and I don't need to really share them,
And if you express one, you could have Dana White mad at you, and if you express the other, Khabib's entire troop of Dagestanis will stomp you into the ground.
Everybody, it's just there's no winning.
There's really no winning with that.
No, never.
Let me ask this: we've been talking about this kind of as it relates to the current climate. A lot of people talk about being afraid on all sides, like you said. Let me ask you this: as the baddest man on the planet, it's kind of this is what's obviously bestowed upon the heavyweight champion and light heavyweight champion. What is Daniel Cormier? What do you fear? Genuinely, what scares you the most? Like Brazilian wandering spider notwithstanding, that's at the top of all our lives. Yeah. But
I think my fears are as the same as everybody. Honestly, we came to New York City on Sunday for the fight, and I was just Halloween. There's a reason we went to my friend Jimmy's apartment because it's terrifying to be out on the street nowadays with your children. And I think that's my biggest fear. My wife was talking to me about going to a parade, and I was just like, man, I don't know if I want my children in a very densely populated place and crowded, because that seems to be the time that people want to do the craziest things.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, let's try to do something safer. Like my biggest fear is that something happens with my children. All these horrible, horrible things that are going on almost daily now. I just want to try to shield them, my kids and my wife, from them as much as possible. So that's what scares me, and that's honestly, I'm very safe, Steve. Like I don't really go many places with big crowds at all. Concerts, basketball games, football games. As much as I would love to go watch the Saints play every week or Oklahoma State, I really don't, because there's always that underlying fear that things are so crazy right now in the world.
You know what? That's something I've had to deal with a lot. Obviously, I'm not as famous as Daniel Cormier, but especially with what I do, listen, sometimes it can be more polarizing, and I'm curious as to how you balance the idea of sort of either paranoia or anxiety in public places versus a legitimate healthy fear. I had tickets to Tom Jones and Alice Cooper, and I missed both concerts because I got to a certain point where I said, you know what? I just don't want it to be a powder keg with my wife.
Yeah.
And to everyone else who doesn't really understand it, it's a different kind of problem that you run into. Like, stop being paranoid. How do you balance, okay, this is a healthy fear versus maybe I'm blowing this out of proportion?
I think safer is better. Like that's just kind of my idea. Like I rather err on the side of safety than take a chance at risking it, and then ultimately it costs you something that's so terrible that you really can't bounce back from.
Right.
When you say you missed the Tom Jones concert, well, you missed the concert. But at the end of the day, you still have your wife, and you guys didn't run into any issues. Right. And those are the things that really matter, man. It's like you just can't. It's like when you live in the public eye, especially as you are, right? Because you're very vocal about your beliefs, whereas I just kind of stay clear.
Right.
You're vocal, so I mean, there are going to be certain people that truly even want to hurt you, or people that truly support you, and sometimes your supporters are very dangerous because they kind of crowd you.
You ever been hurt? Have you ever been hurt by fans? I actually had a finger jammed really badly once by a guy who reached out and it jammed my ring finger like hard. You ever had something like that happen?
Well, just grabbing, right? Like people will grab you, right? You'll be walking somewhere and people will grab you and they'll grab you. And I mean, it's just scary, especially my kids. They're on TV a lot. And even the other day, we're in New York City and my wife is walking down the street with my children, holding them each on one side, took them to Dave & Buster's. And she said, as she's walking down the street, a guy starts walking towards her, gets down on his knees, and starts to open his arms like he's going to hug my son. And I always make fun of my wife about when I'm at home, I kind of hide in crevices, and she walks out, and I just go, wah! And it scares her, and she freezes every single time.
Okay.
And I said, well, what happens if you're in public and somebody does that? She goes, I'll probably freeze up. So when she told me the story, I laughed. She goes, did you laugh? I said, yes, because when the guy went down to hug my son,
it wasn't the gym manager, right?
No, it was just some guy on.
Okay.
It was some guy walking the street. He went to hug my kid, and she yelled, "Don't you touch him!" And she kind of kicked him. And I laughed because you did not freeze.
Right.
You instantly protected our kid. And she was like, "Don't you ever touch him!" And she told Daniel, "Don't let anyone touch you."
Yeah.
Because people see them in the public too, and for her, she didn't really choose a public life. She married someone that has a public life. It's her and our kids have to kind of live that way too.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a real thing and it's scary.
Good for her though. You know what? I think you do get a little more license. I don't know if you feel this way. For example, we did this big show at U of M. And thousands of people showed up, and there was this after party afterward, and there was a guy from Michigan State sitting down who just started really trying to start a fight. To be fair, I was basically, my friend was Liberace for Halloween, Owen Benjamin. He's a pianist, and he's 6'7", 2'8". He's a giant, so he stands out. He's got a big pink rhinestone cape, and I'm an assless chaps and short shorts. And he's like, "So you like an effing gay cowboy?" I said, "Yeah, man, I guess so." And he kept trying to go on for a fight. And I have to say, he was an African American gentleman, and obviously people right now with their attentions, I was like, I don't want to get into a fight with this guy because of the liability. Now, that being said, if this guy were shoving someone like my wife, because he did get a little bit pushy physically, I think I'd probably go berserk. And it's probably
you would have
more
to.
Licensed, like your wife maybe freezes when it's her, but with her children, that mama bear thing kicks in.
It kicks in, and I'm happy it did, And she told my son even, don't let anybody hug you. Like, you don't have to take pictures if you don't want to. You don't have to let anyone hug you, just because that's not part of the deal, They're just two kids with their mom trying to enjoy New York City.
Yeah, that is creepy. That's really creepy. A guy
Very
hug
creepy,
random
man.
kids. I mean, I get awkward with like kids I know, like my friends when their kids are there. I'm like, like my friend Johnny Boy, my producer, his daughter has a major crush on me. She's like, I want to marry you. And I'm like, oh, that's sweet. She's like, no, look at me. Look at me. You're everything I've ever dreamed of. To make it more awkward, I turn to Johnny Boy and I go, John, I would never take advantage, bro. Just so you know. And you can make us even more uncomfortable.
Get your daughter, John.
Get your daughter. Yeah, she is very, very aggressive at a young age. So you did last time. I think even with us, you spoke about this. That you were planning on hanging up your gloves. I think your birthday in March, your 40th birthday.
Yes.
And you're not only broadcasting with MMA, but I know you've talked about branching out into other sports. You're just a good commentator in general. I think you break the mold of what a lot of people think of. When a lot of people think of MMA fighters, they think of something in their mind's eye that is the Black Beast. Let's be honest. Even though he's not that way, but the nickname. So you have a career afoot in broadcasting. Are you hanging up the gloves still, March? Is that set in stone?
Yeah, the date is still the same. I'm looking to fight this time and then hopefully fight Brock Lesnar beginning of next year, and then that'll probably be it. I mean, I just don't want to be that guy that goes out on his back, man. We've seen so many of our great champions that had all these shining examples, these moments that are etched in our minds forever, but they stay too long. Right. And by the time it's over, they're getting beat by people they never would have gotten beat before. So I don't want to be that guy. I want to leave people with the memories that I have had up to this point. Case in point right now, we've got Chuck Liddell fighting Tito Ortiz. I mean, those guys aren't broke. They're not broke guys. Like, people think these guys are fighting for money. They're not broke. They want to fight because they still think they can fight. I just wish my memories of Chuck would stay him in the octagon just going crazy. Right. Or Tito Ortiz doing the gravedigger thing, But it's like they're fighting each other and one of them has to lose. Right. And that will be something that will be stuck in your mind. Imagine if you're Chuck Liddell and you lose this fight. You're up 2-0. Yeah. One of the greatest rivalries in the sport's history. You go and give this guy the last one? It's like,
it doesn't make any sense to me. It's Chuck was at his peak and he won 2 fights, and then who knows what Tito's doing over there? Who knows what anyone's doing over there in Bellator? Let's be honest. They could be walking.
They're not even fighting Bellator. They're fighting for Golden Boy Promotions. Oscar De La Hoya is promoting the fight on pay-per-view. And I mean, I love Chuck. I think Tito's a great guy too. I worry about what happens on that night.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Let me ask you this. You were really tense at one point in your career. I think kind of in that period where you've talked about how you really felt you had something to prove and you really didn't like John Jones, then you couldn't get back at him because of all the drug controversies. We seem to see a relaxed, really happy Daniel Cormier lately. I know you're generally are seen as an affable guy, but to me it's noticeable. Let me ask you, is there some kind of a corner you've turned, or is it just because you keep winning? Like, do you think that you can maintain this demeanor? I know we have to get going soon. Do you think that you can maintain this demeanor and this calmness if you were to lose? Or do you think it's just victory makes you so?
No, it's just who I am. And also, Steve, me not having to cut all the weight.
Yeah.
And I wasn't saying, I was just, there, stop. That's better, right? Does that take off some of that light off of my face?
You look gorgeous either way.
You look good.
I'm gym managering out here.
Stop, man.
Okay. No, go ahead. You look great either way. And thank you, faceless man, for helping.
That's Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
That's Bob.
I know. I'm sure it helps, but you do seem much more relaxed. To rephrase it, you seem more relaxed than. What was that? Oh, wait.
It's not cutting all the weight. I'm fighting up at heavyweight now, so I'm not losing 45 pounds to get to the fight. You know what I mean? And also, just really being content with everything that I've accomplished in this sport. I mean, win or lose this weekend, which I won't, you can't take away what happened in July, right? Those images of me with 2 belts will always remain the same.
That's true.
And I think there's a comfort in that. There's a comfort in the accomplishment. And I know that even though I'm comfortable in the accomplishment, I'm not ready to let it go. But I am who I am, and that'll never change. People can't take anything away from me anymore.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that, and I'm sad to hear that you're hanging them up. Just make sure 2 things. Promise me 2 things. You're not just going to gain a ton of weight and be a walking coronary like a lot of previous O-linemen in football, that, you're going to stay healthy. And don't get in a propeller plane. We saw how that ended with Rocky Marciano. We don't want to lose you to an elm tree.
Never.
Okay, and final
Those
question.
are 2 things you don't have to worry about.
Good.
Hey, okay. I got to be careful with eating too much. That's one thing I got to be careful with. But I got to be on TV for the rest of my life, so I got to maintain at least some sort of, this beauty that I have on my face. Look at that. I even got my teeth fixed, Steve. Look at that.
Now, did you wait? Was that like, because hockey players don't get their teeth fixed because we talk about crazy fighting. As hockey players back in the day, enforcers would have 40 fights in a season. They have to get right back on the ice, so they just never fixed their teeth until the end of their careers. Was that a conscious decision for you?
Yeah, it was time. I started to do more things like your show and more national things outside of mixed martial arts, and there's an idea or a way you need to present yourself when you're doing that. And it was time. I could have done it a long time ago. And I also knew that, as I get closer, it's time to get it done. I put it off because if this thing gets knocked out Saturday, I just go get it fixed again.
Right.
I only have one more fight. But 5-6 years ago, I had 13 more fights. And if it was getting knocked out every single time, it really didn't benefit me. So it was just time to get it done.
But was it tough? Like, were you ever self-conscious about it during that time? Like, look at that.
Not really. I mean, it kind of became who I was. I've always had like partials that I could stick in.
Oh,
I
that's
just
right.
chose not to. I always had things that I could like put like a retainer and all this, but I just chose not to. I was always comfortable with who I am.
Well, you're a bold man, and you're braver than I am, because I get really pissed about all these gray hairs that I have at 31. I'm like, what's going on, Mr. Captain Fantastic? This is bull crap. And then my wife's like, you should just ferment it. I'm like, you're supposed to support me as I become a silver fox.
You are. I tell you one thing, man. The guy that has glorious hair like you, and it's all silver, I think that's a winner. Makes you look distinguished. Let it go,
exactly.
Steve.
Well, thank you, but it's. No, no. I don't care that you can kick my ass. If you can grab me by my still brown hair. No, I'm gonna let it go gray. I'm not gonna do the. The worst is when someone goes gray and then they dye it, and they don't do the gradual dye. We had a pastor come in one day and it was bright blonde. I'm like, come on, man. Everyone is watching you right now, going, "We saw you yesterday at the steak."
Yeah, come on, dude. Come on.
Final question. Obviously, the fight, I want to make sure the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, it is happening November 2nd, UFC 230. Yeah. Let me ask you this. We were talking about this. We had Boss Room on yesterday. Did I say second? Sorry, I meant to say November.
You said second. That's Friday. The second started weigh-ins. The third is the actual fight from Madison Square Garden.
I am terrible with numbers. Yeah. Fights are always Saturday, unless I think sometimes if they're in different countries' time zones. Let's not get technical. Yes. It's November 3rd, UFC 230. We had Boss Rutan on the show the other day, and I was talking about his serious neck injury that he had at one point. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but for him it was a real struggle to start even moving 5 pounds, and now he's back to basically full ability. We talk a lot on this show about strength, and there's this idea, I think, this false idea of machismo, and it's often associated with fighters. And I use Boss Rutan as an example because for him, he was weak as a kitten with one arm after the neck injury. But he was strong because he said, okay, I'm going to push past this, and eventually he got back to where he was, whereas a lot of people just don't push past that discomfort. To Daniel Cormier, best fighter on the face of the planet right now, before you leave, how do you define strength? What do you think matters most, particularly for a lot of young men listening?
I like the mental, honestly, man. And I think, and this might be like, oh, we don't want to hear this about fight promotion. But I think strength to me, honestly, is defined by a guy like Derek Lewis. When Derek Lewis was a teen, he left Louisiana down to Texas and got in a ton of trouble, ended up in prison. Now, you know that when you go to prison, there are guys in there every night saying what they're going to do when they get out and how they're going to be better when they get out, and they'll never go back, and I'm going to make a life for my family, and they write these notes and they do all these things as to how life is going to improve. Mm-hmm. But then they end up back in prison.
Recidivism rate, right? Yeah.
Recidivism rate is through the roof. Derek Lewis never went back. Derek Lewis became a millionaire. Derek Lewis is fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. That's why when people say, how you knocked that guy out with 10 seconds, I'm like, 10 seconds, that doesn't surprise me, because this man fought from the pits of hell to build himself back up to this point. Yeah. To me, that's strength, right? When you are dealt with unbelievable adversity, and in the face of that adversity, you don't crumble. You try to build back. When I lost my daughter and life tried to knock me down and put me out for the count, I tried to rebuild myself. When a person goes through these terrible tragedies that are going on today, the families of these people that are dying in these mass shootings, are dying when someone decides to drive their car into a crowd of people, these families that scrape themselves off the ground and rebuild, that's strength.
Yeah.
When you're dealt unbelievable adversity and you come through it and become better for it, that is what defines strength to me. It's not about lifting something up. It's not about when everything's going good, you're the champion and everything. It's about when stuff gets bad, how do you change it?
Yeah.
That's what I feel strength is. And that's why I respect the guy that I'm fighting on Saturday.
Well, I think that's a very gracious answer. I think it's very accurate of the Black Beast. But I would add one to it, because I'll give you a pat in the back. I also think equally as important is when someone does have great power. It doesn't mean there isn't adversity, but when someone has made it through the adversity, how they wield it, what they do with it. You've been a class act as a champion, and that means a lot as well. That fight is happening November 2nd, 3rd. I was saying in my mind, don't say second, don't say second, don't say second, and I said second. Oh, he's gonna kick my ass, and then I said Black Beast, and it's gonna be a hate crime. UFC 230, November 2nd. Daniel Cormier, thank you so much, sir. Be safe.
Thank you.
Okay, America, see, first off, these are all my toys, but look how many of the toys I get now along with cheeses because of Mug Club, and good with that. I noticed that Farmer's Dog, which Hopper eats all the, along with cheeses, sponsor other podcasts that shall remain nameless, but they don't even have a dog. And I'll give them some of that. And if Farmer's Dog didn't want to sponsor Hopper, I'll show you I'll give you some of that. It's a deal that makes sense. It makes sense. More of that. Unless you want Hopper to die, join Mug Club at louderwithcrowder.com/Mug Club. You get to try for 7 days free, and we're not sponsored by Farmer's Dog, so you know we're not making money any other way.
All right, single live read of the week because Owen Benjamin is not here, and actually Eric had to go to the bathroom. louderwithcrowder.com/Mug Club. This is where you get to see the daily show every single day. Full hour show every day. Well, not on the weekends. And you get access to the entire CRTV catalog, $99 annually, $69 for students, veterans, active military. And you get 7 days free. You get to give it a whirl, especially in the time of YouTube. And especially when like going out to U of M was an incredibly costly endeavor that took a lot of time and man hours. We wouldn't be able to do it if not for Mug Club members. Really, I can't thank you enough. And if you're looking to purchase a firearm as well, the only other main sponsor we have on the show, we don't sell you things every single different commercial break, Walther Firearms. Here's the deal. Google a review right now, Walther PPQ. That's my favorite gun, period. Just Google Walther PPQ review. You will not find, you'll have to go to page 10 of Google to see anything other than glowing reviews. And there are a lot of good guns. Yeah, Glocks are great. There are plenty of Glocks. You can go with a H&K. You could go with a Smith & Wesson. You could go with a SIG. At that point, it's like Mercedes or BMW. That being said, I've never had anyone who's actually tried the Walther and decided to go with another firearm. So all we ask is try it. They have the balls to sponsor the show. And of course, louderwithcrowder.com/MugClub keeps the lights onward with the show. Go. Hopper, stop that licking. That was a variation on an older version that I'd done of that. That was the Luganis
little
drowning dance. Hit my head in the back of the diving board, put AIDS all over the Olympic pool.
Oh,
you okay?
Yeah, I'm a little lightheaded there.
You know that story? I think
I lost him.
Greg Luganis. You don't know that story? Diving?
Oh, I didn't
Famous
know that.
You know, he hit his head in the backboard, blood all over the pool. Turns out I think he had HIV.
Yeah, that's one way to
I think there was
transmit.
a made-for-TV film, and I think it was Mario Lopez who played him. Couldn't even get Louis Diamond Phillips. Poor guy. That's the worst way to go. That really is terrible. It's like, couldn't we get like John Leguizamo or something? I don't know why I'm doing the Steven Seagal voice. Owen Benjamin and I, before we left for U of M, were just watching Steven Seagal films. And one thing, he never gets hit. And I was doing research afterwards, like, how does this happen? Is he that? He's like, there's an actual quote. My audience would never believe such a monumental occasion. I'm awesome. He really believes his own hype.
He wrote it into the scripts? Like,
yeah,
no punches.
There was a film. By the way, thank you to Daniel Cormier. I was this close to asking you, Daniel, if you could, who would win in a fight, you or Steven Seagal, just because I wanted to piss him off and see if we could get him to, storm off the show. He's so nice, though, Daniel Cormier.
He's super nice. Super nice dude.
And I'm really sad it's going to be his last fight, and a really good guy. And you know what? I think his worldviews might surprise you. Not say no more. He's a hard worker. He's a family man, and he's a good guy. What was I talking about? Steven Seagal. Yeah. No, there was a film. I don't know the name of the film. I would love it if people just let me know. Send in your tweets, and also, by the way, your questions. lifeadvice@loudwithcrowder.com. We're doing a segment next week and a Devil's Advocate next week with Stefan Molyneux.
Oh.
John Leguizamo. I don't know the film with Steven Seagal and John Leguizamo, but apparently he was supposed to die. They were supposed to shoot it at 6 a.m. And they only shot it at 8 p.m. that day because he just refused to die. He was like, my viewers would never accept this. It is highly unrealistic. All right, hold on a second. I got to drink some water. Say something, Quarter Black. I don't know.
The script. What's up, bros?
All right, I got it.
Dog?
It's just, you really need to get out of that rhythm. Okay, so let me take off the clown mask now. I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's been a tough spell. It's been a tough spell for a while for me, and I'm incredibly appreciative. When we do these live shows, so U of M as an example, it was really, really hard. Required getting a lot of people out there. It's a 17-hour drive. Most of us flew one way, drove the other way to try and kind of pass it off. Some things could have gone better that we had issues. We've talked about, if you remember, Mug Club with the union members at U of M who didn't let us get in when we were supposed to get in, so that we're aligning everything. It takes a crew of 12 people. It was very hard and very draining physically. And listen, not cancer, nothing like that, but I'm not a guy who likes to necessarily get into my health it's not in the best of sorts right now. These are things that can be corrected, but serious enough to warrant, I've taken really two sick days in the history of this company. A lot of the time when people see we're not doing it, they don't realize we're rebuilding something, or we're actually pre-taping something. Like a Change My Mind, we just can't do a show the day we do a Change My Mind, or doing U of M. That was days and days of prep and getting out, several days of travel. There might be some more, and you know what? Let me know who you would like to see as a fill-in host. Not right now, but probably around Christmas break. And one thing I will say though, doing these live shows, which can be really exhausting, and they really can. The reaction, the interactions with the fans, the people are really incredible. The people who support the show, Mug Club, it was crazy to me. It was at least 60-70% of people at that theater. And by the way, it overflowed. Thousands of people were Mug Club members.
Oh yeah,
So that's not even just non-Mug Club members, because the Mug Club members get their hours in advance. So that's always, it really is a team of people. We really do feel like it's familial, and we're overwhelmed by the support. But I also do notice an ongoing theme, and you've probably seen this in Q&A, particularly with the upcoming election: fear, a theme of people being afraid. And a lot of the different people, they find different ways to get over them. A lot of people find that this show helps them. I had some people say, listen, man, I am so tired of news and politics. This was a veteran who talked about how he had been suicidal. I actually have a Navy Cross there. We haven't figured the perfect place to put it yet, so it's just safe. So thank you, sir, again for sending it. But we're going to put it right next to it would be fitting, the Ultimate Warriors action figure that Mike Ward gave us. That next to a Navy Cross. That crystallizes this show. Some people say this show helps them. It's really important, though. This isn't obviously the only one. Therapy is probably better than this show, because everyone on the show needs therapy. So it's important that you understand the difference between being afraid, and I don't always get the chance to answer people this way, and being afraid of something and being fearful. They're two different things. And on this last segment of the week, it often ends up, I think it ended up being branded Crowder Closes because people were uploading it anyway. Like, I want those dollar bills. So I try to be vulnerable. I try to be earnest. Because I don't think lies help. I don't think being completely disingenuous helps. I don't think false ego helps. And because I know a lot of you out there might be experiencing some of the same pain and fears that I've gone through, or that I'm going through, or people even here sometimes in the studio. So if it helps you, it'd be wrong for me to keep it to myself. And I think a lot of people often go, don't be afraid. Oh, listen, be brave. But they don't really tell you how. And if you have, so let's say it's, The Rock or someone like Daniel Cormier. That's why I really appreciate the interviews with Daniel Cormier. because Daniel Cormier is a world-level ass kicker. And on this show, not always, but on this show, he's been very vulnerable about what it is that scares him, about the fact that he's nervous before every fight. Very specific. And I tell you what, for me, that inspired me. I don't know about you, but hearing Daniel Cormier say, I get nervous before every fight, I didn't feel so bad about, throwing up or painting the porcelain before every single live show. Quarter Black knows this. I don't enjoy speaking live. I get very, very nervous.
But when you get up there, you look really good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the lies. Checks in the mail. It will clear. You needn't say this. It's going to clear anyway. Just like a black belt from Steven Seagal. Your check cleared, and I'm amazing. So if it does help you, the way Daniel Cormier, Brian Shaw, George St. Pierre, Thomas So, we've had a lot of great people here who've actually talked specifically about things that either scare them or difficulties they've overcome. That's been something that's been inspiring to me. And so I'm just going to be honest with you. There are a lot of things that scare me, but I don't live my life. Let me go through it. And I'd like to hear you guys tell me what it is that most scares you. Going out on a limb here. And I know it'll be used against me eventually, but I also know that there's someone else out there who probably feels like they're alone, might think that they're at the end of their rope, and maybe this will help. So it's one person, it's worth it. I'm afraid of being alone. That's something I'm really afraid of. This idea, people talk about being alone in a crowded room. We often hear it in sound lyrics. That often happens. I can be surrounded by a lot of people and not really know who a friend is or know who necessarily cares about me. And especially when you have so many supporters, and I'm grateful for them, you're always afraid that goes away and that there's this sort of dead still of quiet. I've always been I'm afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of burning out. It's one of my worst fears. I'm afraid of burning out. Like after University of Michigan, and again, when you have kind of health struggles, nothing serious, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. I can always get up and do the work that I need to do as far as, okay, show up, hit the mark, do the sketch, fine, write the joke. But when you don't have anything to aim for, sometimes it's really hard just to think up right now, okay, where are we going to do the next change? What's the next super video? Where are we going to go on location? Because so much needs to be planned. And it's just like, a lion tamer. It's the different legs of the stool that keeps the lion completely confused. That's the only reason that this circus clown is not getting eaten. I get overwhelmed sometimes. I'm afraid of burning out. I am afraid of not being deserving of this platform. Frankly, I'm afraid of that. Something I've always been afraid of. I see the faces. I see people who come up when they tell me their personal stories and how much this program means to them. I really am grateful, but I think I often feel undeserving. I work really hard. Again, I try to be honest with people. I probably work harder than anyone I know, and that's kind of a reputation in the industry if you ask other people. I'm a Clydesdale, not a show horse, clearly. Not an Arabian prancer, dancer, whatever it is. All you equestrians, I don't care. Go do your dressage. But I'm afraid. I often feel undeserving of the platform. I'm afraid of mistakes that I've made which have harmed others, and I don't necessarily know what they are. Sometimes when you're in a leadership position, this keeps me up at night. I'm afraid that I've made mistakes that have caused ripple effects, and they were mistakes that I could have avoided. Especially when you have employees and you're in your mid-20s, you make mistakes. Mistakes are okay, but I have trouble sleeping sometimes when I think about, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. That's something that bothers me a lot. I'm afraid of the Brazilian wandering spider. That goes without saying. I'm afraid of not knowing when I've done the right thing. That's something that's hard. Afraid of the mistakes, and sometimes not knowing if you've made a mistake or done the right thing, because sometimes you make a decision that you have to make for someone else in the team or someone else in your life that negatively affects one other person. Sometimes it's just like we don't have that much room in the lifeboats. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions, and sometimes you think you have to make hard decisions, and it's just wrong. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid, frankly, I used to have a bad temper. I'm afraid of it coming back. I'm afraid of Mr. Hyde rearing his ugly bisexual head. That was a short phase. No, I'm afraid. Afraid of getting angry. Afraid of being too emotional. Afraid of being obsessive. Because of that, I'm afraid of alienating friends, family, people who I care about most. Something I think about a lot. Sometimes with a lot of pressure. Sometimes with a lot of compression comes hypervolatility emotionally, and I'm afraid of pushing people away, especially when you have people who you love who either work with you or in close proximity. I'm afraid of, and this is why you might have seen that there was a pause at U of M. I'm afraid of having children. I'm really afraid of having children. I said I don't like kids. That's not true. I like kids. That's a smokescreen. I kind of don't like sticky kids. But I'm afraid of having children. deathly afraid because of thrusting them into a life that they didn't choose. I've had a lot of close calls. I've had even just not close calls. I've had very unpleasant encounters. We've had people who just work for this show who've been spat on. We've had people get violent with them. Even at U of M, we had people trying to start a bar fight for people who weren't even on stage, but they knew worked with the crew. I'm really afraid of having children and bringing them into that. It's always been something that bothers me. And because of that, something else I'm afraid of the fact that my fear of having children could cause irreparable damage with a wife who I know deserves them. I'm not saying I'm never going to have kids, by the way. I'm just saying it's a fear that I struggle with. And I know a lot of people struggle with these fears. We talked about the church groups often when people aren't honest. I need to be forgiven for being a workaholic. I spend too much on Facebook. You know what? No, I'm telling you exactly what I'm afraid. I'm telling you what my weaknesses are because I know, and some of these are actually things that I feel as though I should have expressed a long time ago because I constantly encounter these at live performances where people say, you know what, I really struggle with this and you help me with it. And I'm going, you know what, I should just tell people. I should just tell people that I struggle with that. I should just tell people that I struggle with burnout and fear of that. Or I should just tell people that I'm afraid of having children because it might help them to not feel so alone. We hear that so much from the left. Oh, don't be alone. Only they try to tell you shouldn't feel alone in your depravity. I'm telling you shouldn't feel alone in being afraid of things, but hopefully there's a solution that we'll get to after this. I'm afraid of all of this going away and 15 people being out of a job. That's one thing that really scares me. If I'm undeserving and it all goes away, or you say the wrong thing, that can happen to anyone these days. We've been really blessed. There's 15 other people who rely on Mug Club and your support, not just myself. That's something that's really scary. Let me end on this. I'm afraid of not being able to discern the things that I can control and the things that I can't, and wasting energy trying to fix things or trying to contain things that I can't control. I'm really afraid of not having discernment or not having perfect discernment. I think that's what a lot of these fears stem from. And even more, I think I'm afraid of not fixing the issues that I can control. And that would be even harder to live with. So it's just this never-ending cycle of what can I control, what can I not? And if you can control it, you better do something about it because people are relying on you to fix this. And if it's out of your control, you're spinning your wheels. And the people who are relying on you, they're just going to see you burn out, and then you can't help them. It's a really difficult thing to break. It's a really difficult cycle to break. I'm afraid of all of these things. And Snake Island. But I don't live in fear. And neither should you. And I hear this a lot, particularly with this election. You shouldn't live in... It's okay to be afraid of things. Everyone is afraid. Bravery is doing the right thing in the face of being afraid. But living in perpetual fear is different. Just like people tell lies, but lying to yourself consistently is corrosive to your soul in a way that is very different from telling somebody they don't look fat in a dress. Living in a state of fear is different from being afraid. You do not have to live in fear, regardless of the election, because you're not alone. And not only are you not alone because of whether you believe in him or not, God says that you're not alone. But let's get out of, what people may see as corny sort of metaphysical bumper stickers. If you're watching this live right now, okay, look at how many people are watching live with you. If you're watching the show afterward, just look at how many subscribers, Mug Clubbers there are next to you. Take solace in knowing there are millions upon millions of people right now in arms with you. And you know why those people have hit the subscribe button? You know why those people have bought this? Listen, it's awesome. It's hand-etched, it's girthy, it's hand-painted. This is just a symbol. You know why millions of people have supported this program? It's not because it's funny. Every now and then we get a few right. It's not because people feel as though this is the only place they can go for political information or insight. Millions of people have signed up because they have been through something similar to what you are going through or to what you have been through. Look at that subscriber count. That's the ceiling right now on YouTube. I just lost my pen. The ceiling for conservatives on YouTube is our channel, right? And that's also a burden that scares us because we're going, man, we're changing the blueprint every single week, and we're trying to do right by you. Elections fluctuate. And we get so many emails, especially in the life advice, but what do I do with the election? I feel that our country's done. I hear that every single election. Elections change. Parties change. And it goes back and forth. But win, lose, or draw, whether it's this go around or the next go around, you're not alone. You don't need to live in fear. Do you feel better at all? Does that help you feel better? I know sometimes these are supposed to be feel-good segments, but it doesn't really matter, okay? Because whether you feel better or not, that's the truth. So take it. If you feel better, good. Now it's your obligation to help the next guy. Go make sure today, right now, if you're listening, if you're watching this show, immediately, pause this. There's only going to be a few seconds of music afterward anyway. You don't even need to hear it. You've probably heard the song a million times with Pogo. Pause it right after this phrase and immediately go ensure that somebody else out there doesn't feel alone and doesn't need to live in perpetual fear. If all of us do that, that's what changes this country, and that's what creates a team, and that's what gives people not only self-belief, but belief in their values and belief in real change. Make sure today, right now, this is the last phrase, I'm getting near the end of this now, name that movie line, that you go out and ensure someone else doesn't feel alone and doesn't have to live in fear, because that's why we do this. We'll see you next week. We've got Devil's Advocate with Stefan Molyneux. That's going to be fun. I'm afraid of that.